right, welcome everybody. I am Kristen. We would love you to say hi in chat. We're going to be using the metaphor of seeds, soil, and plants today. So we'd like to know what you're planting for your future. So tell us what institution you're coming from and what plants you're planting for fall. We're excited to have everyone here today. We'll get started in just a minute. So tell us what institution you're coming from and what plants you're planting for fall. We're going to use this metaphor today around plants and soil, so we'll dig into that a little later.
My chat was on hosts and panelists, so I don't know if everyone else's is.
Gotcha. Okay. So there is a default setting on Zoom to change the drop down where it says hosts and panelists to everyone so that everyone can see your chat. Tell us where you're coming from, what institution. We have a question real quick. I can't answer. Oh gosh. Tell us where you're coming from and what plants you're planting for fall.
I love the comment about the skeleton archway working better with the dead than the living. My husband waters all of our plants because I cannot keep them alive.
I grew up with a grandmother who had like a green hand, not just a green thumb. So there's just a bar that I don't think I could ever reach as far as like what a true gardener looks like. Like, I'm happy if something sticks around a few months. That's good. That's a good job. Welcome, everybody. Please tell us where you're coming from and what you are planting for fall. We're going to use this metaphor of plants and seeds and soil today. So we're going to get our metaphor started with hearing what you're planting for fall. We'll get started in just a second. All right. Lots of people coming in. I love it. Make sure that as you are chatting that you change your drop down to everyone instead of hosts and panelists because it automatically will default to hosts and panelists and we want everyone to see what you have to say. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So today's webinar is the third in our series called Design Matters Live. We'll investigate how to design online courses to help learners feel like they belong. We'll be showing you what the research says and the ways to implement these practical tips in your Canvas course. First, we're going to cover some housekeeping issues. So we are recording this and we will share it out along with any of the useful links we share today. In the next 2 days, you'll get that in an email. If you've missed any of our webinars before, all our webinars are available on a single page so you can go back and find them. I'm going to drop that in the chat. I highly recommend catching the webinar on scaling with Boston College we just did earlier this month, and then the highly entertaining Extreme Makeover Canvas Course Edition webinar as well. It's silly and informative. It's a great one. We're going to be using the Q&A feature. So if you have a specific product question or support question, use that feature and we will have some time set aside at the end just for addressing those questions. And again, make sure that you change your drop down in the chat to everyone so that we all can see what you are chatting to us. Joining me today from the Cidi Labs team is Stephanie Tate, who is a contributor to our training and content development. I'm Kristen Powers, the Director of Marketing and Customer Engagement. And Clara Mance is with us as well, who is our customer support specialist, and she'll be helping us with the QA during the session. This is just a small fraction of our team who are here to make sure that you get the most out of your tools. We have a number of our team members also in chat, so if you can please say hi if you are in chat from our team. If this is your first time joining our fun, let me tell you a little more about Cidi Labs. Cidi Labs was founded out of a partnership with Utah State, where Kenneth Larson, our co-founder, was working as an instructional designer. He was given permission to hack Canvas and started making the first iteration of what later became DesignPLUS. Over the years, our team has grown with educators and instructional designers, as well as former customers who are drawn to improving the learning experience for everyone. We have 6 products for Canvas, from accessibility to course lifecycle management. All of these tools have been developed in partnership with our customers' feedback and with partnerships through universities. Today, we're going to be showing off DesignPLUS. If you're curious about any of our products, please reach out for a demo so we can help you find the right tool for your needs. I'll drop that link in chat for you if you want to sign up. So today, as I mentioned, this is the 3rd webinar in our new series. Over the past few months, we've been sending out the Design Matters Digest, where we share research about how design impacts learning. In each digest, we offer a few practical tips to improve your own course design. These webinars take that blog content and bring it to life with engaging discussions, examples, and live demos. September's digest is all about student belonging, which is our focus for today. And we're going to kick things off with a poll, but I'm going to drop those links in chat. So if you want to sign up for any of these Design Matters objects, you can sign up there. So in this poll, let me get this started. So we wanted to start with an acknowledgement that many of you who have shown up today have a ton of experience in this area already. And we want to create a resource of ideas of things you're already doing that you know work. And then we want to share that resource back out with everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. Launch. Now, the good news is we're going to have an amazing resource at the end of this session. The bad news is I won't have that amazing resource until the end of the session, and we'll share it back into the email. So if you are adding some cool ideas into the poll, but you also want us to maybe see them in chat, please go ahead and put them in both places so that we can also, acknowledge now that you've got these great ideas. We really appreciate it because this is something that we can share back with the whole community, and we can all benefit from what you're already doing and what you already know is working in your classrooms. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute, and Stephanie and I are going to go through a few more slides.
I jumped forward, there you go.
It's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we just wanted to give a little bit of background about some of the nuances in this topic. So belonging is getting a lot of buzz in the education world. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? When the research continues to show again and again that a sense of belonging affects learners' success and well-being. So the quote on the slide emphasizes that those effects exist in both the immediate and in the long term. And if we think about it, doesn't this sort of at a common sense resonate for us all? So for me, I know that when I've been in situations where I've questioned my belonging or safety, it's really impacted me. And in situations where I feel valued or seen, I find myself being more creative, productive, more engaged. So we wanted to start here with this sense of humanity and proceed to talk about a lot of the nuances in the topic before we get into the really practical tips with you.
Yeah, belonging is complex and multidimensional. This chart from EAB identified 5 different components of belonging. Students who have all 5 components being met are much more likely to feel like they belong and also to stay engaged with the university even after they graduate. A student's sense of belonging on campus is one of the top factors in their retention and persistence. So schools really benefit when learners feel like they belong. It's not just a learner benefit, right? It's a bigger thing. So today we're going to focus on just one of those 5 aspects, 5 components. Can you make a click? Yeah. So that's just going to be the active and engaged learning component today. We'll be sharing 3 specific course design strategies to support learner belonging. Stephanie, we want to share the goals for today?
Sure. So if you read the most recent digest, you did get a sense for some of the research-backed tips for promoting your learner's sense of belonging in your Canvas courses. Today, you'll get to see our tool DesignPLUS in action and how it can make implementing design work to promote belonging easier and scalable. Specifically, we're going to look at some of the research on learner belonging in online courses, and then explore 3 opportunity areas for increasing students' sense of belonging. So for each of those opportunity areas, we'll discuss the research behind quality implementation, and we'll do a live demo, showcasing how DesignPLUS can streamline the process and help you walk away with a practical tool set. Of course, it's Cidi Labs, so we love to have fun, and that's a goal for us. Please join in on having that fun with us.
It is very important. So I'm going to repeat myself, but with good reason. Belonging is complex, and it can't be reduced to a simple cause and effect relationship. Just because you add an image or a particular picture of your school to promote institutional camaraderie doesn't mean automatically a learner will feel safe and accepted. There's a lot more nuance to this, so today's session is really just scratching the surface. Well, Stephanie and I are really excited to share this content because we've both experienced issues in classrooms where belonging has affected us, both as learners and as educators. I'm neurodivergent, so I often struggle with feeling like the world just isn't made for me. My brain processes information differently. And sometimes when things don't align, that can trigger feelings of being unsafe. And designing a safe space for learners is one of the key topics we're going to talk about today. I come to this topic with a lot of empathy for designers and educators who are doing the best they can with the time and resources they have. Most faculty have the best intentions to support their learners and make them feel safe. And because their workload is so high, it can be hard to prioritize these changes that may not immediately seem valuable. So we've condensed a lot of this research into a few slides to help reduce that barrier. We'll be showing you a few ways that you can help nurture your learners with tools that make it easy and fun. So let's start by introducing a concept we both like and a way to think about belonging on a large scale.
Great. And I saw in the chat a couple people saying that it was maybe hard to hear me. Can you hear me a little better now? Let me know in chat. I'm leaning in. So just as Kristen shared, I too come at this topic from a place of passion and experience, and even from having learned from one of the major researchers in this domain.
Stephanie, they're saying it's still quiet. I hear you normal, so I'm not sure if it's everyone. Okay, other people are saying they hear you fine.
People fine, so it may be.
Let's keep going. We'll see what we can do.
Great. So as we've been talking about, it's so hard to turn a complex topic into actionable ideas, but I think this framework really helps. So Greg Walton and David Yeager, two major researchers on learner belonging, describe and document what they call a seed in soil metaphor in their research. Their work explains that effective interventions require planting high quality seeds, such as a belonging message, in fertile soil where that seed can grow, such as a context that affords that message. And it's not always as simple as saying you belong, right? And ta-da, the learner feels they belong. What these researchers have done is explored well-supported interventions in diverse problem spaces. And what they found makes a lot of sense, that the interventions lead to stronger outcomes in environments that supported those interventions. Rich soil really helps those seeds grow. Now, most research on learner belonging does often identify some major leverage points like system level factors such as school climate and policies, and relationships, including instructor interactions, peers, and school-based groups. But a lot of these elements are really representing the soil, right? While interventions, changes, or connections to these elements can be seen as the seeds. So let's take a second and recenter on course design. When we think about course design to promote belonging, we're certainly talking about, for the most part, planting seeds. And as we've said, belonging isn't a matter of cause and effect. So sending a welcome announcement isn't going to magically ensure all students feel a sense of belonging. However, sending a welcome letter is a great idea, and these ideas represent opportunities to make our learning spaces more welcoming and inclusive and promote our learners' sense of belonging. So we want to say that no matter the soil at your institution, when designing for belonging, planting the seed is a great step. And what's really neat about quality course design is that it has the power to shift practices in a course and in an institution organically. So I like to think that the course design ideas we share today will not just be seeds, but also soil amendments. If you're a gardener out there, you're like, yes, I'm tracking. And Kristen, I know we have a resource too. These researchers started kind of creating a tool set that could be used in face-to-face classes or online classes. If you're interested in exploring this topic more from some of these researchers, we'll link in a resource that's a toolkit that just has a bunch of practical ideas, sort of outside our tools, but on the topic nonetheless. So jumping forward, you're here today because you want to plant some great seeds for belonging with your course design, but you're left with a big question. Can a Canvas course be designed to promote a learner's sense of belonging? Well, you can see here on our slide that the first quote is talking about creating psychologically inclusive environments These give equal opportunities to diverse learners. That in order, we can use the content and the design of the online learning environment. It can be manipulated strategically. I'm fumbling this, but you can manipulate strategically that online environment through the content and design in order to create those psychologically inclusive environments. So the simple answer is yes, it can be done. And the second piece of research here that we're referencing is mentioning identity safety cues. And identity safety cues are essentially these cues out in the world. I'll explain a little bit in a second, but these cues can buffer against identity threats and increase feelings of belonging and safety across stigmatized groups. So identity safety cues, we're going to kind of mention that a few times today, make sure we understand that, but they're really wide ranging. The studies on these began in physical classrooms, where researchers swapped out items in the classroom, maybe like the posters on the walls, to see if just manipulating those small elements, those little cues in the room, could affect a learner's sense of belonging. And spoiler alert, they can. So that research has now expanded into online spaces as well. And the researchers analyze little bits of content, including images and language, that give your learner a sense that their identity is valued, is included in the institution or domain, and so on. So strategically using these identity safety cues can promote a sense of belonging, even at an unconscious level. So this type of belonging is called ambient belonging because it's belonging developed from the environment. And another fun fact, and I don't have it on the screen here, but one bit of research that'll be cited in next month's digest describes how instructors who chose not to use a template that was built to align with best practices that promoted belonging still utilized elements from the template in their course design after being exposed to it. So truly, seeds and soil amendments are not for nothing here. Adding identity safety cues to course design and information about how and why to use them can act as kind of covert professional development. So to summarize, there are opportunities to promote a sense of belonging for learners with thoughtful course design. And now we're going to take a look at what are some of those opportunities. Today, we'll explore research and tips for 3 areas: helping learners see themselves in the course, see their instructor in the course, and see their learning path in the course. And while the research and tips we share today can be implemented in native Canvas, we've got great gardening news for you. That's you, Kristen.
Sorry, it seems like there's still some people having trouble hearing you, and I'm not quite sure how to fix that. Well, we do have some exciting news for you. The tool that you'll be seeing today is actually a suite of design tools called DesignPLUS. There's a sidebar, a multi-tool, and the upload embed image tool. It's like a set of amazing gardening tools that's going to make planting those seeds and amending the soil more effective and scalable. DesignPLUS has all the tools to help your designs and your learners bloom.
Right.
The first research area and strategy we're going to discuss is about helping learners see themselves in the course. What does it mean to see yourself in a course? In marketing, I'm always thinking about who my target audience is when I'm creating content. I want to make my audience identify with whatever message or imagery that I'm using so they can imagine whether it's using our products or facing similar challenges that I'm talking about. As an educator or designer, you're doing the same thing when you think about who your students are. If you're designing or teaching a writing course at a community college that's primarily serving Latino adults who have returned to school, you'd want to make sure that the pictures and examples you use resonate with that particular audience. It would be a big miss to use cartoony kids images for that audience, right? This is kind of logical, you get that. But something like that might have your Latino adult learners feeling like, are they even in the right place? And so that disconnect is where we can talk about what does this mean to see themselves in the course. So having a learner see themselves in a course means they know it's for them, that they're in the right place. This is who they're supposed to be and where they're supposed to be. Stephanie, can you tell us a little more about what the research says and the impacts of this?
Absolutely. So embedding representative imagery that reflects your learner population has been shown to help develop ambient belonging. And some other interesting ways for learners to see themselves in the course besides that, imagery example that you provided, Kristen. We have a few others to talk about today. One you see is that second bullet point on the slide. Emphasizing a shared group identity can encourage connection and act as a buffer against other social threats. So there's another potential way to help learners see themselves in the course is emphasizing a shared identity. There was one study where they were manipulating some identity safety cues to see how those would affect learner belonging in an online course. And so you'll see that here it says participants in the ISC, that the identity safety cue class, felt that their instructor was trying to create an inclusive environment and reported a higher sense of belonging and were less likely to have absences than participants in the control class. So we see, again, some of these cues can work, and we'll talk about what some of those cues can be. We'll break down some of the elements from that research in just a sec. And then another piece that has been helpful for learners to see themselves in the course is instructor communication about non-academic resources. We see here in this quote, it's positively associated with an increase in student sense of belonging. And so this can be another really great way to help your learners see themselves in the course. Okay, so what are some identity safety cues that we've pulled out of the research that you could begin to implement in your Canvas courses? That first one we've already talked about, but utilizing representative imagery. And there's a couple different layers to this. So representative imagery at your institution helps your learners see themselves in the actual institution space. So if you have a physical campus, you know, it could be all sorts of diverse learners at your campus, representative learners from your school in various campus spaces. This can also be representative imagery from your domain. So, you know, if it's science, then we want to see like scientists that are representative of your learner population. And this can even drill down into content. We'll talk a little bit about highlighting maybe it's authors or researchers, content creators from your domain can also help with that process as well. Another way is to design assets that promote student groups and institution resources. So we saw that little bit about non-academic resources being actually helpful for creating a sense of learner belonging. Now, of course, we want to balance this non-academic element, and we'll talk about that today. However, if we can design those assets to promote them, we make it easier for our instructors and our designers to quickly add these elements. Another way is to really generate that group identity. So you could use institution colors, images, and language for a unifying effect. Your institution may have like a fun identity. I think of even like elementary schools and like cute mascots and things like that. And tying into that can actually have a unifying effect. One little nugget was incorporating diversity statements and non-discrimination policies clearly in a syllabus or maybe on a homepage did actually increase a sense of belonging for learners. And even if a learner maybe wasn't like a particular identity wasn't included maybe explicitly in that diversity statement, having the diversity statement at all was connected with all learners feeling a greater sense of belonging. So that's cool. And one we'll talk about a little bit today is having digital bulletin boards to showcase learners' work. That helps them see themselves in the course. I taught high school English for a decade, so of course I was putting learner work all over my physical walls, but how do you do that in an online space? And we'll talk a little bit about that today.
That's exciting. So now we know a little more about why learners seeing themselves in a course matters. By using representative, all those syllables, imagery, and safety cues, we can help learners feel like they are in a safe space in their Canvas course. And we know that feeling safe is crucial to actual learning happening. Neuroscience shows that you can't learn when you're afraid because the chemicals in your brain that are released actually block new memories from being formed. So, Stephanie, I know how to create a feeling of a safe space in real life because I can control lights and sounds and any of those visual inputs that are happening. But what does it look like to design a safe space with DesignPLUS?
Yeah, let's jump in. So I've got a couple samples. I'm going to start with this one. And I am going to hop into edit really quickly. On this page. Don't worry, I'll give you a tour in just a second. But we have an amazing new preview content feature that's going to let me both show you the beautiful preview version and access our tools at the same time. So here you can see really quickly one of the kind of most basic, amazing elements of DesignPLUS is how quickly you can add a theme to your content that brings in your institution's branding. That's already pre-assigned to your institution. We make sure we load those colors in for you. And just like that, you're already increasing that sense of branding that creates that unifying effect around that shared identity. We've got colors being involved here, but you can also see just some of the other elements that DesignPLUS helps with, creates really beautiful, cohesive designs so easily. We can, Kristen, I don't know if you had if you wanted to talk about the Boston College piece there.
Yes, sorry.
No, you're
Caught
good.
in chat. So the webinar that I mentioned at the beginning, the Boston College webinar, which I will actually drop here in chat as a link, one of the things that they talked about was their scaling efforts, and particular schools like the nursing school was really, really concerned with making sure that their institution branding was all very cohesive and that it represented them. And what was most important to them were pictures of the actual building that were identified in those banners. So there's different ways for everyone to realize what this looks like, and it's not going to be the same. But Boston College has a really good example in that webinar of why they're doing this and what it looks like to, create that institutional identity.
Totally. And, it can be kind of isolating if you're taking an online course away from an actual institution any moment you log in. And so having that like institution imagery there, that branding gives you that sense of connectedness, even when you may be physically removed from the campus at any point. But I also want to talk about representative imagery and in connection to this idea of institution branding. Here you see this banner image. It's got some students in front of what is presumably part of a campus. And in our tool, we have an amazing feature to help you really easily incorporate representative imagery of your institution. So if we head over into our image tool, you can pull images, from Canvas as you normally do. You can also, though, pull right in here from your user images, your course images, but here's the kicker. You can pull from primary images, and these are your institution images. So your institutions can load in a variety of images that make it so easy for your designers or your instructors to pull in that representative imagery that's truly your learners, right, in your spaces. And so that's just such a quick and easy, phenomenal way to add that way for learners to see themselves at your institution.
I'll jump in here. Another customer story we have was from Generation U Employed. I'm going to drop the link for that in the chat. They are actually a global online service of education. And they told me in the story that one of the things they did, like what you're showing here, is that they just went through and made hundreds of student images for the banners so that no matter what locale, doesn't matter if you're talking about Afghanistan or China, they would have pictures of the student population that they were serving so that you could always choose from something that was already preset, but thinking ahead and having those options make it so easy to put that branding in there and create that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see some other elements that we'll explore later, like having some instructor content, but I also want to draw your attention down here to this section, Resources for Success. These are maybe some non-academic resources mixed with some also academic support resources that can help your learners get a sense of belonging. Notice there's various imagery incorporated in here. What's really cool about these kinds of assets, as we mentioned, with DesignPLUS, you can pre-build these to make it easy for your users to incorporate them. This one actually comes from a pre-built content block that is in my course, but you could provide these at the institution. But look, like this is already here for me. It's a template that I can quickly and easily add. I can also edit this template if I were to say, ooh, you know what, this is a business course and I actually really want to emphasize like the Career Center as a non-academic resource and I want to make sure that the imagery is representative of my learners. I can just quickly make edits to this content. I could change this from free tutoring to a Career Center, and I could change the icon really quickly. And I can even use DesignPLUS's upload embed image tool. It lives just outside the sidebar. So over here in the apps plug, I can find the upload embed image tool and I can pull images from free repositories. So we have access to Unsplash, and of course it's not going to load because it's live demo. There we go. Unsplash and Pexels, where you can search for representative imagery. So if I was looking for like a business person, and I just didn't have like a whole assortment of those items saved on my computer, I can pull in images really quickly and easily to represent my student population. But again, this could be also like scientists, if this were a science class, And same thing. So we make it really easy to pull those images in. And the kicker is if you needed them to all match across like these cards beautifully, you can also use this same exact tool to crop these images and resize them all without leaving this window screen. So great. These are quick and easy ways you can see here to do some of the strategies we talked about, representative imagery, that branding, and supporting learners with non-academic resources all here through DesignPLUS. Let me jump to another example. So this is a sample content. This is a sample content page where, you know, I already mentioned, I told myself, former English teacher, but having like a student work showcase. So maybe the learners were studying, you know, someone's poetry, in this case, Rupi Kaur, and I wanted to provide a quick reminder about what we had been studying when we mentioned sometimes including representative imagery means showcasing all of the authors or researchers or, you know, whoever it might be that's part of your content. So here we have Rupi Kaur's image, the poem there. But what's really fun is how we can use that same exact setup that I showed you with those 3 cards and instead create what might be like a digital bulletin board. So imagine the learners submitted these images with their poems that went with it. And here I can showcase their work. This really gives a sense of seeing themselves in the course, not just like someone who kind of maybe looks like me or feels like me in some way, but really me showing up in my course. And this is so easy to do inside DesignPLUS. We have a ton of pre-built options for you. Again, just by default that your institution wouldn't even have to create, but you can also customize these for your institution. So this is just the cards tool that's available inside the sidebar. If I were to select on these, then I can be in here in the cards. For content block, I could change that. I can see some other various content blocks that are available, some other cards that are available. So cool. What I want to do is actually go ahead and add a new content block below. So I'm going to select this, have it set to add below. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and choose from my content panel here, another way that you could create like a bulletin board, and you can even preload these into templates for your users. But I'll go ahead and choose this image grid gallery, and it's just going to put in this gorgeous image gallery, and your instructors or designers could swap out these images with the student work just to create a digital bulletin board so quickly and easily. You saw that right inside the sidebar there. Right. So let me jump back to my slides now. That was our first area, right? Helping learners see themselves in the course. And our second area for focus today is thinking about designing a space for instructor presence throughout a Canvas course, helping instructors connect with learners and learners connect with their instructor.
So I was once part of a research project when I worked in Seattle called High Tech, High Touch. And one of the things that we were studying is the social impacts of online learning, especially at scale. And we learned how isolated and lonely learners can feel when they're in online courses. Without the social presence of their peers and their instructor, they felt alone, and this affected their motivation. In face-to-face classrooms, it's easy to identify and manage this because you can see it happening. But in an online course, there are very few experiences where learners are even aware of their peers, much less their instructor. So this instructor presence can have a big impact on a learner's motivation and feeling of belonging in the course. So let's look at some research and explore some possible opportunities to let instructor presence shine in your Canvas course.
Awesome. So yes, that's a great way to capture the power of this opportunity area. Plus, the research is just very clear that instructor presence is like the biggest lever for increasing the learner's sense of belonging. So what we want to do is figure out not only how we can do that in Canvas, but how we can help you do that really quickly and easily. So let's take a look at the research specifically. We see in this first bullet point, students who believe that they have a positive relationship with their teachers and that their teachers are caring, empathetic, and fair, and help resolve personal problems are more likely to feel a greater sense of belonging. Well, okay, that's helpful, but how do we get the learners connected with that instructor, or how does that instructor creating that feeling? So let's look at some of the research there. So one is this idea of an instructor welcome message, whether that be, an announcement or a homepage, but especially when embedding a video or like an accompanying image of the instructor to give that personalization to it. This develops instructor presence and increases social belonging for learners. Another way is for instructors to share quick stories and self-disclosures that encourage learner belonging. So sharing a little bit goes a long way. There's no need to like replace all of your content, academic content with just like personal stories. But this was just little tidbits here and there, really increased that sense of learner belonging. So again, the goal is to design intentional space for the instructor to infuse their voice. And what are some opportunities for that based on the research? Well, you can design templates for a welcome letter or a homepage to make this work really easy for your instructors. You can design space in a particular piece of content or in a template and provide support for embedding an instructor image or welcome video. You can, as we've been showcasing, pre-build space throughout a course for easy direct contact with the instructor, and maybe visually separate some blocks for instructor commentary on content pages or module wrap-ups. That just gives the instructor a sense like you can infuse your voice here, and it gives them that nice visual design around it, so it doesn't just feel merged in with all of the content.
Love that. So it's great that we've identified so many opportunities for positive learner impact, but we know faculty and course designers don't have a lot of time. So how can we build these opportunities in DesignPLUS so that people actually take advantage of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I'm going to head to the next page here to show you, this is a page, but it's an example of a welcome letter that you could have, at your institution as a template for your instructors to fill out. And I have it set up as a page right now, and you can see here that it's actually labeled with square brackets and template around it. This is a cool feature in DesignPLUS. If you take any page and add square brackets with template in front of it, it's going to have our sidebar recognize that as a template. And I've added the additional category here, announcements, which is going to give me a secondary category in just a second. You'll see this. But I want to show you the power of DesignPLUS actually over in announcements. Since this is my page template, I'm going to pull this into my announcements. And one of the reasons for this is, I don't know if you've ever run into this, but with if you have someone besides an instructor setting up the announcement, their little icon becomes the sender, the creator of that announcement. What we want is that instructor connection. And so if we design this as a template that the instructor can easily pull in, this is so wonderful. So here, maybe this is my, welcome to whatever course announcement. Inside this space here, I can choose my template content tool, and it's going to give me a placeholder, and then I get to choose my templates, and I can choose my own course content. I can import by URL, or I can use some of the templates that either I added to my course with the square brackets, or my institution has made available for me. So in this case, this one's living in my course. And when I even drill down there, I can see my category for announcements. So if I were just looking for all of my announcement templates, I could use this. Here's my welcome letter. Now, there's magic in the edit view here. If I take you back to this page, you don't see some of these things. Look for this green box here, right? This green box and these yellow elements. These are our action items that are also these super powered ways to provide notes that are hidden for your users. So students don't see them when the content is saved, but your instructors or designers can pop into edit, and they can go ahead and either maybe follow the directions, or in this case is a checklist, and fill these in. You can see when I select into it, my sidebar tells me that I can review this current action item. I can go through this process, and I can actively check off as I'm going through and completing any of these items. If I want to just select the next one, I can and review that one, or I can choose to review all action items in a little pop-up and work through. And so here I could just type in my course name, and that input will get replaced. But again, you can build these into your templates, and then these templates are available to your users, making their life so easy to infuse their presence. Right? And you can even provide the support. Say someone isn't sure how to embed their image. Well, maybe you provide a placeholder and provide directions in one of these editor-only notes about how to replace that item. So it makes it nice and easy. When you are correct, Kristen, time and resources are often limited. So if I were to save this, you'll notice you don't see that green box. Or those
we have a lot of institutions who are using that action item as a tool for managing quality. So whether that's quality matters or any other standards and quality that you're assessing and you want people to pay attention to certain things, they're using that same tool. So I'm going to drop a link to one of our customers talking about how they're using it for quality matters, just to see some other ways that this tool is being used as well.
So great. Yeah, we love our customer stories. Our customers are doing amazing things, as I'm sure you all are. And so sharing those stories can be really motivating. Okay, here's another sample of a home page here. And you can see that the first one I showed you was maybe like very like streamlined. It was a business class, nice and clean, but you can very easily kind of adjust the look and feel of your elements with DesignPLUS. What's cool about this template is I actually pulled this one from our DesignPLUS library. And so we have a whole library with a bunch of additional built resources. A lot of those resources are from institutions just like yours who wanted to share them. So thank you to all the customers who share these amazing resources. So I just pulled this one in and then styled it for a sample 8th grade science class that maybe has a welcome video with the instructor. In DesignPLUS, it's incredibly easy to take videos and images that you add, whether they're already on the content or you bring them in through a variety of ways. You can use the regular Canvas embed feature to bring them in. But when we work with our images in our sidebar, it's just a simple selection in our style panel to float that image in any direction. So I saw someone in the chat kind of mentioning embedding is so important. We try to make embedding so easy for you because we also know that it's really important. You can also see, let me make my space a little larger and head into my preview content again here, just so you can see the pretty version. You can also see that we have pre-built features like this user details element that you can, again, with a single selection, bring in information about the existing instructors in that course. So we're just pulling that Canvas information, but you can also then customize this information. Maybe you wanted to add some other information elements here. You can check or uncheck any of the pieces that were already brought in, but it comes in pre-styled like that. Or you can even switch up the style. There's a variety of different styles that we have for how you can bring in this information. And this is a really great way to connect to the instructor by providing this information up front. It's already easy and pre-styled. And then we also have what's called this content shortcut. So we want to make it really easy for your learners to contact that instructor. And what this contact shortcut button does is it adds this option to message the teacher. Again, I customized the info, so you could drop these anywhere throughout your course, like ask me about this week's quiz, right? And it will still do the same thing. If a learner clicks this, it will open the Canvas inbox with the instructor's contact pre-filled in the recipient field, allowing them to, in a single click, go ahead and fill that out and send that message to their instructor. Super, super awesome. Again, that's the content shortcut tool. You can see we have a bunch of other really great things. This is just so fast through all of our tools, but these ones really help increase that instructor presence. Here. And last but not least for this topic, we talked about infusing kind of the instructor's voice or some quick stories about themselves. Maybe you've got just a simple content page. We've shown you a lot of like bells and whistles, but sometimes it's just, you know, beautiful headings and content that can really help the learning experience. But I've pre-built this element here, which was, it's just a call out. But again, you can make them available to your users as what's called a fun fact if you add them into your institution snippets. And I just added this detail because we're maybe learning about velocity. And this is a true story. When I went skydiving, I was really nervous that I was gonna get motion sick while skydiving, and you could imagine getting sick and having it sort of come back at you wouldn't be the best thing. I of course left the gory detail out of the fun fact I'm sharing with the learners here, but it's just a quick infusion of the instructor's voice and re-engages the students in the content thinking about, hey, have you ever been surprised by a scientific fact? And then another instance of that message, that content shortcut to message the instructor. So you can see DesignPLUS makes it really easy to incorporate the instructor presence. So let's jump back to our slides. So we've covered 2 opportunity areas. Our last one is to help learners see their learning path in the course. Perhaps this one seems a little less intuitive for promoting belonging, but the underlying idea is that barriers for learning can cause students to question their belonging. Personally, I was a first-generation college student, so everything in that process was new to me. But there were regularly these expectations that I should already know how to succeed and navigate. And there were times where I wasn't aware maybe of those unspoken expectations and instead questioned if I was confused because I wasn't enough or wasn't right for the space in some way. Plus, as I've mentioned, right, I spent a decade teaching high school English, and I was doing so in context with a variety of underserved and underrepresented students who regularly shared similar concerns, where barriers were contributing to them questioning their belonging.
Yeah, like Stephanie, I have my own personal experience here. Being neurodiverse, pattern recognition is one of the skills that I rely on to make sense of the world around me. In an online course, when the first three modules all have the exact same pattern, but suddenly the fourth one looks different and doesn't include the things that I'm used to, something very distinct happens in my brain. It's like warning bells and red alerts start firing. Something is off. And like Stephanie, that can cause confusion, doubt, and concern. And in some cases, that can become overwhelming for learners like me, and they might give up. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Let's look at what the research says and explore some of the ways you can help support your learners' ability to see their learning path in the course.
Absolutely. So we can see in the research here that in addition to the kind of work that instructors are doing, this directed facilitation, student perceptions of effective instructional design and organization also appear to matter in regards to a sense of connectedness and learning, right? So we're not just like pulling this out of nowhere. The research is telling us that this organization and design really is giving this sense of belonging. And for those of you who especially work in any kind of accessibility area know that improving access and usability for people with disabilities also improves usability for others, right? Thus creating a platform for social inclusion of all students. So we love this. We love designing with accessibility in mind right from the start because it's good for all of our learners. And so what are some ways that you can do this in Canvas, right? Promote a sense of belonging with this clear kind of organization. One way would be building modules that follow a general pattern and using naming conventions to highlight that pattern. On the actual pages or activities, we can use consistent headings that help lower cognitive load for our learners. And we can, of course, prioritize accessibility throughout our designs to reduce learning barriers.
Awesome. We know that structuring a course is important for cognitive load and for supporting learner belonging. Building out a full course framework or restructuring a course can take a lot of time, though. Are there ways to make this easier in DesignPLUS so that learners can see their learning path?
Of course. So one I'm going to highlight is outside of the typical sidebar, but we have this additional portion of our tool called the multi-tool. And the multi-tool is, well, aptly named. There are several tools inside of it. One that I'm going to highlight right now is called the module builder. And the module builder helps you build modules, but it also helps you really quickly restructure your existing modules when it loads. Let's try to refresh because sometimes I leave it open for too long.
And you don't need to rush, Stephanie, so take your time.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, so what the module builder will allow you to do for your existing modules in terms of increasing this ability for learners to see their path in the learning course is to at a glance see all of your modules, the names for all of them, and to make super speedy changes. So if I wanted to adjust and add a prefix to all of my modules, I can load that prefix here and have that get applied. I can change out all of these items if I realized, oh, I didn't call something module 1 at one point. I can just right here name it. I can drag items around inside this module, so I don't have to edit individual items to make these changes. I can just make these changes one text box after another for any module in my course that may need it. Really awesome for restructuring, renaming, or looking for inconsistencies maybe in those conventions. But another incredible superpower from the module builder is just scaffolding an entire course very quickly. So right now, I have this one still in here. Let me go ahead and clear this out. You can use the module builder to scaffold an entire course in honestly seconds if you have some of the assets pre-built. So in this case, I can tell the module builder that I want to create a new module pattern. So maybe my module prefix in my course is week, right? I say week 1, week 2, and maybe I want to create 16 modules and I want to start with module 1, or maybe I want to start with module 0. I mean, whatever it might be for you. And very quickly, I can decide the structure of my modules. So say for every module, I like to start with a page and that's like a welcoming page. So I can say, you know, overview is the name of this page, and it's going to automatically be labeled week 1 overview because I have those prefixes set, and I can choose, do I have a template that I want loaded in for that item already, or pulling from any of my existing course content. Then after that, say I have basically a page of content that I want my learners to engage with. And then they move into the assignment, and then they have a discussion, and then we have a quiz, and then maybe we have a wrap-up page as well. So you can see how quickly I'm just adding these items. I can change the names. I can also put in a consistent number of points, which is so wonderful. And you might be thinking, there's some downsides to this. What if I have like a slight adjustment to my like module pattern at some point? No worries. Let's just first allow this to generate 16 modules for me. It did it. And down here, I can come in and make any slight adjustments that I might need to. Say week 7 is like the prep for our midterm. I can adjust the elements in there from right here. I can even change the indents, anything I want, so fast, so easy, really, really awesome tool. When I'm ready and everything looks good, I can say add the modules to the course, and it will. So the next thing I want to show you for the idea of seeing your learning path in the course is just the simplicity of some of this. The module builder is really beautiful, kind of razzle dazzle moment, but sometimes it's just the simplicity of a structured assignment with headings that can do wonders for your learners. And so here you can just see that's pretty simple. These are actually the default content blocks that come with our sidebar that you could just add in really quickly and easily. And you can see that this would just help a learner navigate, find the information they need without overwhelming their cognitive load.
Yay.
All right. So I can jump back to my slides. I know we've shown a lot, and yet you maybe still have so many questions, but hopefully the tools we've highlighted today help you promote a sense of belonging through your Canvas course design. So as you saw with DesignPLUS, you can quickly and easily help your learners see themselves, see their instructor, and see their learning path in the course to boost their academic success and well-being. And hopefully, implementing some of the ideas can improve the soil at your institution organically, helping belonging bloom for all of your learners. Yay!
I love that. Thanks, Stephanie.
Welcome.
We hope we've planted some seeds to help your curiosity grow today. So if you'd like to learn more about DesignPLUS or any of our other products, I'm going to drop a link for you to sign up for a live demo. We'd love to talk to you about whatever challenges you're facing and how any of these products can help support you. We do have 2 other products that we want to share that can also be used to support learner belonging. So UDoIt is our accessibility assistant for Canvas, and ObserveEd is our student performance monitoring tool. Both these tools help reduce barriers, connect students to support, and expand the accessibility of your courses. UDoIt rapidly scans courses to detect accessibility issues, provide guidance to correct those issues, and also expands the accessibility know-how in your institution as you're using it. It can do magical things like convert an inaccessible PDF into a native Canvas page. And ObserveEd is our new student performance monitoring tool. Imagine staff from your advising, athletic, disability, or equity offices had the ability to observe their students' academic performance in Canvas real time without any privacy or security concerns. It's the easiest way to keep an eye on the students whose success you especially invested in. We'd love to show you how these tools can help create more opportunities for learner belonging in your course. I'm going to drop some links in the chat and you can see more about these products. And we wanted to share more again about the blog that we're doing because we didn't know if you know this, but it's free and available to anyone, both on our website and as an email digest. Please share this content and help grow the awareness of how design impacts teaching and learning. The more we can empower course designers and educators to make their Canvas courses more engaging, more accessible, and more research-backed, the more we all win. The digest and the webinar come out each month, sharing best practices and easy tips to help your team improve. We'll drop the link in chat to have you read the latest issues, sign up for previous digests, and make sure that you're getting them in your email box. Drive that down. And we do have a number of upcoming events. So we have a webinar on the 22nd, which is going to be on scaling course design best practices. Then in November, we'll be covering templates and how they can help amplify your design speed and consistency. If If you've missed any of our webinars, we have them all in one place, and I'll drop that link for you in a second. But we've also got a number of in-person events that we're going to be showing up at. If you want to see a demo of a product or just come by and see our booth or catch some cool Cidi Labs swag, come visit us there. And there's one more set. Yep, so we've got lots of places we're going to be showing up. In our last few minutes, we're going to address some of the questions that you had. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the Q&A. So the first one was actually a couple of people were asking about sharing the gallery that you were showing at one point, Stephanie. And if you can share that again.
Yeah, if it was the image gallery, I don't even need to share that with you. That's in your DesignPLUS already. So our content block tool is beyond amazing. If I were to add a content block to my page, just adding the content block through the content block tool, when I come down to, let me select into the content block. When I come down to this area, template behavior in the content panel, I have all of these under the category content available to me. So these image gallery grids are here. And then I also have those cards under the cards category. So those are available here. And then as I mentioned, though, your institution can either use these as a starting place, customize them, and then reprovide them to your users with custom naming or, you know, whatever it is. So if it were like student support resources, you can have those already pre-built as we have here, resources for success. It's a whole content block with these cards designed, ready to go.
Love that. And then someone also asked about, is there an example of the gallery and do we have access to this template within DesignPLUS? I think that's what you're showing now. So if there are any other questions, please drop them in the Q&A now.
And some other elements, just want to reemphasize that the DesignPLUS library, I don't know if either of you have a link to it that you want to drop in the chat. The DesignPLUS library has additional templates that, so again, your institution can make them. You can design them for your own course, which is so fun. You can have customizations for your own course, or you can pull from, again, these free resources that other institutions have shared, that have built, that are so beautiful and amazing. And if you're out there and you have beautiful, amazing resources and want to share, please submit them.
Definitely. Yeah, it's one of the real benefits of DesignPLUS is having access to this content that's created by customers like you, and also our team has been making things as well. So we have a really great question. How do you encourage an instructor to use the updated template? I think that's one of the things that Stephanie and I really brainstormed on is like, yeah, we can encourage all these great practices, but how do we make it easy? How do we make this so that people will actually do these things? What does that look like to encourage an instructor to use these updated templates?
Yeah, and some of that's going to vary institution because you could, of course, build the templates and provide them to your users through Canvas Commons if you didn't want them to have to get in and figure out how to use DesignPLUS. They'll look vanilla HTML on Canvas Commons, but when they pull them into their course, it'll have all the beautiful custom styling that you do. So whatever mechanism is going to make it easiest for your users, you're going to know that based on maybe some of the wins that you've had and maybe some of the retries that you've had, right? But again, this can be built right into the sidebar to make it easy from that template content space. And then the more you use those maybe action items to provide support to help explain how to do these things that maybe from one person's perspective seem easy, like I'll embed that image and float it to the right, like that needs some explicit instruction. So providing that support there. Some other great ways that you can support your users too is you can actually build out custom tutorials and user guides, but we have tutorials and user guides to walk your users through a variety of tools. But I know that that lift can be quite a problem. What I love at the end of the day is even if you don't get as much uptake in that template as you hoped for, remember that little gold nugget about the research that even when the instructors rejected the template, they ended up using all of those, well, not all of them, right? But that some of those features showed up later. So those best practices were making their way into the designs organically just from the exposure. So take heart that you are amending the soil at your institution, design by design.
We've seen some great examples from customers where the place where all professional development is being designed in Canvas, they start first showing off all these tools. And so that when faculty take that professional development course, they're like, well, how do I get my course to look like that? And so you start to sort of socialize what better design and quality design looks like, and that gets people interested. So even just showing these things, you never know the effect or impact you could have on someone.
Yeah, we have a few tools that are really razzle dazzle, like our accordions. For some reason, when you show users accordions, they're like, I need to know how to do that. And so it is great to use those, like you're saying, in exposure areas to different users, and that might draw them in to be engaged to use those templates that you're building out. Great point, Kristen.
Yeah. It looks like Claire's got the last question, which was about how the software is available in Canvas. So this is, we've been showing DesignPLUS. I'll drop another link if you want to learn more about DesignPLUS. It's our software that's the multi-tool, the upload embed image tool, and the sidebar. All of the 3 tools in one is going to be DesignPLUS. And that's not the right link. But if you have any other questions, please drop them in now. Otherwise, we are excited to share this all back out with you. I will make sure that we have the deck, the resource that you help add to. So we have a community resource on belonging, as well as any of these other links that we've shared today. And of course, the recording. If you have anything else that you want to ask us about, please reach out. We love engaging in this kind of nerdy design chat. It's our favorite thing. So thank you all so much for coming today. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.